right now 4:30 in the afternoon in South Africa. I am dialing in from a city called Johannesburg. It is the financial capital of South Africa. We are in, or Johannesburg is in Gauteng, which is one of the 9 provinces of South Africa. We are a small country, and like I mentioned to you last time, we are a very young democracy. In many ways, I think we've had similar political uprisings and having to claim our independence in ways. Unfortunately, our country also went through an era of apartheid where people were segregated based on race. And that was then, I spoke to you about my mentor and someone, well, not my mentor, but someone that I look up to and someone that I really admire and always read his biographies and autobiographies and things, Nelson Mandela. So he was a freedom fighter in South Africa, really stood up for what is right, and he started a party called the ANC, who then fought for independence in South Africa. So without further ado, I'm not going to waste too much of your time on the history, because I know you're here to learn about coding and robotics, and I can see the hands going up already. So today we are speaking, are you actually in my home today, because we are on school holiday for August holidays. So I do apologize. I've got 2 small dogs, cute little flat faces, that might pop up and try and get onto my lap every now and again. The one's name is Widget and the other one is Gizmo. So you can see that I'm completely IT obsessed in every single way. Even my dogs carry the names. So Hare Krishna, I will let you lead this meeting, and then we can actually answer the questions that the kiddos are interested in.
Thank you so much for your introduction, and we are going to start now. Subramanian Srinivas, I would like to start with you.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Subramanian Srinivas, 8th grade student from Z.P.H.S School, Ilavaram. Glad to interact with you, ma'am. I would like to ask a question. Can I ask, ma'am?
Please do ask.
Here my question is, what is the importance of coding in the 21st century?
It is a massive question. So I think coding is incredibly important in the 21st century due to its pervasive influence on our lives. Since the start of the 21st century, the information age, and we are now in the 4th industrial revolution, although I think we've already entered the 5th in many ways with artificial intelligence. I think it's incredibly important to understand that it shapes modern life. It's not going to go away. I don't know if anybody ever said to you, have you ever tried getting toothpaste back into the tube after you've squeezed it out? Okay. It's out there. It's not going anywhere, and it's making our lives much easier in many ways, but it's also sometimes making it a bit more difficult. But at the end of the day, I think individuals can create software, we can create apps, we can create websites, we can build these amazing products and put it out there. But similar to a builder, similar to a carpenter who can make something out of wood, or who can build a home with bricks and various materials. But I think with just a computing device, you can, even on a smartphone or a tablet, you can already create websites. You can create things that can make money. You can code games. So I think it's super, super important that we understand how code works. And then if you want to take it further, you can make something out of it and create jobs for yourself. So it is an extremely important element in the job market as well, because we see that almost every job has some sense of computer literacy needed. You know, I've seen adverts for janitors and grounds managers who need to be computer literate or know how to use Excel to follow a spreadsheet, know how to answer an email, know how to log support and answer support tickets. So there's an element of computer literacy in everything. You don't always need to understand coding, but I think if you understand coding, you can cascade that down and you can communicate with people who can program, and you can explain to them what you want to do. We are also looking at an era where we are living in smart homes, where you have electronics. I've got electronics that controls our geyser, for example, that keeps the water warm. Now, if I don't understand how that works, I'm not going to have hot water when I need it. Simple things like that. We are now having homes where it switches on the lights for you. Your fridge will send you a WhatsApp or an email saying the milk is sour or you're out of bread. Or it will even go online and order it for you. I know someone in the States who have these little buttons that they press in their pantry if they need to order more Ziploc bags and then it gets delivered to their door, or they click on, they need cling wrap, or they need foil, or they need this, and then the company will deliver it. Now, for those smart homes, we are looking at what they call a smart home engineer, which is a handyman, but that is someone who can code and program the applications and the machinery in your home. So in all spheres of life, we see technology creeping in. And even for teachers, when I started using technology, I was one of the first in my field here in South Africa to really implement it and start using it at a big scale. And everybody said to me, oh, it scares us, we don't want to use it. And I heard one day someone said, technology won't replace the teacher, but people who use technology, teachers who use technology, will replace teachers who don't. And I think that is true for any sphere in life. Technology, coding, I don't think it can replace everyone, but it will. People who know how to use it, how to leverage it in the workplace, those people will replace the people who don't and who don't keep up with it. I hope I've answered your question, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for answering to my question, ma'am.
So, Husniya,
Thank you very much.
Husniya, over to you.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
This is Chef Husniya, a 7th grader from Z.P.H.S School Ilavaram. Can I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes, Husniya, I would love to hear your question and answer it for you.
Here my question is, would you mind sharing your insights on World Economic Forum and future ready skills?
Yes, absolutely. Hare Krishna, can I possibly share my screen on this? I don't know if I've got the right.
You can do it. You can do it.
Okay, let's quickly. Share content, photo. Okay, so right now I've got a screenshot here that is from the World Economic Forum that was actually published this year. And if you look at the skills, I don't know if you can see my little mouse pointer over here, the 10 top skills according to them is creative thinking, analytical thinking, technological literacy. Oh, this is a goodie. Then also curiosity and lifelong learning, and then resilience, flexibility, and agility. So let's just stop there before we go into all of this, because you can see AI and big data is number 7. So that's down the line for a bit here. Now, creative thinking, that is you looking at something and finding a creative solution to a problem. For example, one of the examples I want to mention here, and it sounds possibly we did a project a few years ago with students, and they had to come up with a solution to an everyday problem they found in their lives. And we had a girl, she was in grade 10 at that stage, so 16 years of age. She is in her 3rd final year of schooling. She used to work with one of their helpers at home to plant veggies in a vegetable garden. And she realized that her helper was illiterate, couldn't read, couldn't look at the seeds, or couldn't look at the instructions on how far to plant the seeds apart. So she used to make little, let me just stop sharing this. She used to make little strips of paper exactly long enough so her helper knew to put the strips between the different seeds. And she sat in this lesson where they had to come up with a solution, and she said, what if I make strips of paper and put the seeds in the paper and we plant the paper? And she created a product that is now being sold in Builders Warehouse, which is one of our biggest suppliers for seeds and tools, a hardware store here in South Africa. That is creative thinking. Now, I know the example I now use doesn't have much to do with technology, but she did use technology to do the research. But that is creative thinking. You need to be able to think creatively and solve problems. And you also need to be, there's some creativity in coming up with solutions and spotting things like that. Now, something else that I also want to highlight is the second thing on that list. I just want to look at my notes here so I don't leave anything out. Analytical thinking. Now, technology helps us a lot with that, but you need to know how to use it. In terms of technological literacy, this is a super important skill. And we've seen this move up and down throughout the years, but this is the highest it's been placed ever in the World Economic Forum research. And technological literacy is something as simple as being able to read and write an email. It's also understanding how machines work, how the internet work, what is the Internet of Things. Also, and beyond that, we are moving into an era in terms of technological literacy is understanding the laws of privacy, understanding what data mining is and what companies like Google and all these big data companies are doing with the information that we create and put out on the internet, and having that ability. Now, number 4, curiosity and lifelong learning for me is the most important skill. If you are curious, if you ask questions, you are set up for life. I have never stopped studying since I've left school. I have never stopped doing short courses or long degrees, or there's always something. But beyond that, you can be curious by challenging yourself. So Wikipedia is not the best resource out there, but I have a friend who for a year challenged himself to every day choose. He went down the letter of the alphabet and he just recycled it as he went through. But every day he would take a letter and then he would think of the first thing coming into his mind. So if he's on B, he came up with Britney Spears and he went and he read up about her. And then when he got to C, he wanted to read up about what is a circuit, how does it work. You need to be curious. You need to find games that teaches yourself. Do you know the game Wordle, where there's a word of the day and you need to figure it out? You only have 6 tries. That teaches you language. Yes. All these things create curiosity. We are living in the information age. So we don't need to know everything off by heart and where every country is in the world, etc. But we need to know how to ask Google the right questions to get the right answers to our curiosity. So I think if you focus on those 4 skills, you will be set up for life. You will always be able to learn more things. You will always be able to ask. Now, the biggest thing to harness that curiosity is the question, why? You need to start looking at a washing machine and ask yourself, why does it work like that? How can I make it work? How can I make it work differently? How can I make it better? So it is that curiosity. It's looking at things. It's taking things apart. It's putting things back. And then, of course, resilience, flexibility, and agility. So agility means getting up and going. Flexibility means if plan A doesn't work, I can adapt, I can change, I can ask different questions. Like, for example, here, Hare Krishna and I had the session with you before. Technology let us down a little bit. It happens. It happens. It's not fun. But we need to now adapt, make a new plan, look at something differently. And even if you had a plan that worked last year for something or a solution, technology might have changed in a way that you need to find a different solution and do things differently. So it's constantly these skills that you need to focus on. So I see a lot of hands up, but I quickly want to take your hands down, everybody. And if you can, how it works. But these are the skills. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing here so I can see your faces. Perfect. I hope I've answered your question. Do you have any?
Yes. There is another question.
Yeah.
Is coming
Did
up
I
now.
answer? Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Would you like to ask?
Yes, sir. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, and you, sir?
I'm fine, ma'am. This is Dikshit, an 8th grader from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. I'm blessed today to be part of this session. May I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes, Disha.
Could you please tell us about the role of artificial intelligence in our job market?
That's a biggie. So I made a lot of notes, so I don't forget what I want to tell you. But I think, again, similar to what I said earlier about, technology won't replace teachers or people, but it will people who use it well will replace those who don't. Okay, sorry, the dog just ran through the home here. So I think first and foremost, what artificial intelligence does in the workplace is it automates a lot of things. It makes a lot of things easier. So for example, yes, you can use ChatGPT to write your essays, but you didn't hear it from me. The problem is it's still a machine, it's learning. So it might not give you the correct facts. You still need to fact check, you need to go through it. But it can also automate repetitive and routine tasks. In many ways, I've seen it. One of the biggest impacts that I feel we're going to see is it's going to replace people in call centers. or it's going to make the need to have real humans in call centers, the number of those humans a lot less, because this is a machine that can answer questions, and it's a machine that mimics language patterns very, very well. It's starting to translate into many, many languages. So would you appoint one person who can speak English and, for example, Hindi, or would you appoint a machine who can speak all the languages in the world and answer anything? Which one is it? One or two? It's the machine, but we still need a human to overlook the machine. So in terms of automation, that's happening. However, there's also a lot of new job opportunities. And one of the things I want to point out is, for example, now becoming an artificial intelligence prompt master. So writing prompts to get the right information out of artificial intelligence. So you don't even need to be the person creating artificial intelligence and coding that, because that is the highest tier of programming and coding in my mind. And from my experience at university, when I've studied and tried to do it. But we are now needing to control artificial intelligence. We're also seeing a lot of data analysis. So AI can process vast amounts of data very quickly and give you valuable insights, but you still need a human who has that understanding of the data it's analyzing to make sense of it. Because remember, now, our machine just gives you raw data. There's also enhanced creativity, but professionals can, work in tandem with artificial intelligence to create that creativity. So, for example, years ago, there was a person who did, and you can go Google this, it's an amazing story. It's called 1,000 Hours of Christmas. And what this person did is he had a bot, and he made this bot watch 1,000 hours of Hallmark Christmas movies. And this bot then wrote a script. Obviously, the language was misjointed. It didn't make a lot of sense. But the nuances and the tropes and the stereotypes that you get from a good Christmas movie was all there. But still, so it's creative, it's funny, but how can we take it further? I'm sure you've all been playing around with AI avatar creator apps that creates avatars of you, makes things of you, speaks to you. There's already an AI bot in Snapchat, all these things that we need to know and use. But I think something that's also very, very big and that we need to pay attention to is the ethics and values. Someone needs to teach us that. What's right, what's wrong? So there's new job opportunities as well coming in. And I think even in school, philosophy and ethics, that's something that you only really start learning at university. Though those are subjects that now need to come into the school to teach young students what's okay and what's not okay to do online. And I also think we need to keep looking at regulating it. We're going to have lawyers and attorneys who need to write new laws around AI, because I think AI is something that can teach itself and become bigger. And someone needs to regulate that to know when to switch it off, so that we don't go into the world where the robots have won and the humans are the slaves. And we always need to stay in charge and be the master of this intelligence that we're creating. Beyond that, I think with AI, there's always reskilling and upskilling. So think about, well, you're too young to know, but when the internet became a thing, new jobs came about. In 2006, 7, and 8, when Facebook and social media started, there was a new job in town called a social media marketing manager. Sounds very fancy, but all you do is you post things on TikTok and Facebook and all the different social media platforms out there. So there's constantly these things happening. And I think we're already seeing the same with artificial intelligence happening. So I don't know if you remember from our last interview, I also spoke about my husband being a software developer for a money transmitters company. And for example, what they are doing is now starting to introduce ChatGPT into their WhatsApp support channels for their clients. And that is replacing a few jobs. However, it's also creating a lot of more jobs, because someone needs to manage and oversee that. And at some stage, that AI chatbot needs to hand over to a real human when it becomes too much information. Okay, so traditional roles will evolve. Some will fall away. Some new ones will be created. But if you go and look at prompting courses online, there's a lot out there. It's actually quite an interesting field. Did I answer your question?
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Jessica. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. This is Jessica, an 8th grade student. Namaste from India.
Namaste.
Glad today to interact with you. I would like to ask you a question. Here my question is it possible to learn coding and robotics with the help of mobile phone?
Absolutely. What I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to copy and paste some links that I've put together for you guys on some of my favorite go-to apps. Okay, let's just go back to Zoom over here. So I'm going to give you a few free resources. If you have data and internet access, you can definitely use this. Let's just quickly paste this. There we go. Okay, so I've just pasted a few links on the chat, if you can open that channel. The first link I've posted is typing and keyboarding skills on typing.com. This is the new handwriting. So I'm sure you all in grade 1, grade 2 had to learn how to hold the pen and or pencil, and you learn how to form the letters and everything. Now the keyboard is the new type of writing tool, whether it's on a screen, whether it's the QWERTY keyboards, something loose standing. So this is a free resource, typing.com. It teaches you to touch type without looking at your keyboard. Now it's super important to be able to use a keyboard, know where the keys are, know how to use shortcuts and work efficiently. Now, the second link on there is one of my favorite tools and resources. It's called code.org. And there's various courses on there at various levels, from a beginner up to the most advanced coding that you can work through. Now, a little tip or trick, and Hare Krishna, I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this with your students, but if you are signing up for code.org at home, sign up as a teacher, still free. But what's quite nice is when you're on code.org, and I'll share my screen with you just now to show you, you can then log in and see the solutions if you are struggling to work it out. But if your teacher sets this up for you and you're a student, they will also take you through it and teach you. But there's a lot of videos and things. The third link on there is to Scratch. Now, Scratch by MIT Edu is a phenomenal app. You can learn how to code various games. And what I like about it is it takes you through various levels. It teaches you what a loop is, why sequencing is so important, how to write conditions, if statement, for loops, all those things that you need to know how to code. And it also shows you what your elements on the screen is doing. So there's always a simulator. Now, if you want to upskill a little bit more, Codecademy is a phenomenal one. So for all you guys who want to become web developers and programmers, you can start at something like HTML. So HTML is a scripting language that you use to make a website. So you know your HTTP, www, that whole thing, that is where it gets pulled through and understood as to how a hypertext markup language works, pulls up the website, displays it in a certain way. It will teach you there's JavaScript that you can learn. It will teach you how to program in Python, in Java. Now, you know Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, all those things, that has all been written in a programming language called C++. You can learn that, for example. And then the last one I've put on here is Flutter. Now, Flutter is a framework on which you can create apps. And what I like about Flutter is you can create apps for both Android and for the Apple App Store. So Apple tends to only use Swift as a programming language when they develop apps, but then that is only for Apple, whereas if you use Flutter to develop your apps, you can post it simultaneously, the same app, in both your Google App Store and the Apple App Store. And it's completely free to register as an app developer and publisher and create your own company on both these platforms, which are the two biggest app distributors in the world. So that's definitely a place to look at. All of these resources I've listed for you are free. It's self-paced. It's something you can do as a hobby at home. Now, anyone who likes TikTok? I see a lot of smiles. Okay. TikTok is an amazing resource. So you just need to fiddle and look a little bit so that algorithm running in TikTok gets to know what you're looking for. But you can learn on TikTok how to do almost anything if you just know what to search for on there. And honestly, a lot of people share amazing tips and tricks on that as well. So if videos and that kind of short little increments of information is more your thing, or you want to see what it's about, start on TikTok. Honestly, I know your parents will probably like get really angry with me because I'm telling you how to use the screens, but it's good to learn. And also, there's two types of screen time. The first type is content consumption, which is not a good type. That's when you are watching Netflix, when you are playing games, when you are just messing around and taking information in, or just looking at other people's things. Content creation is where you are actually learning something, like when you are on Scratch and making a game and doing something. I also know, for example, Scratch has a module to teach you to code games for Roblox. Is there anyone who likes Roblox? I see a few smiles and blinks again. Okay, so you can also then add modules for that. And I would love to hear if any of you take me up on this challenge and do something like this. That would be amazing. I hope I've answered your question.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi there.
I am so glad to ask you a question. This is Nandakishore, an 8th grade student from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. I would like to ask you a question. Can I ask, ma'am?
Yes, please do.
What country is currently leading in teaching coding and robotics?
Ooh, that's a tough one to answer. So from my research and what I've been following, look, the education system in Finland, in Europe, is one of the strongest ones, and they also teach to all those top 4 skills that I've just highlighted in the World Economic Forum question earlier. And I think in many ways they teach a lot. But in terms of coding and robotics, obviously we have Silicon Valley in the US, where we see a lot of big startups coming out. However, a lot of them have people from all over the world that they headhunt and bring in. So every country brings its strengths. So for example, I know that India is phenomenal at being able to code and program very quickly and put good quality code out very quickly and at a very, very, very marketable and cheap price. So in terms of that, you guys produce a lot already as a country. I see a lot of innovation in third world countries like South Africa, like India, a lot of African countries, Nigeria, because if you are hungry, if you are poor, if you need to constantly be creative in how to live and survive every day, you become innovative and you push the envelope and you have to prove yourself. However, we do need for first world countries like the US and countries from Europe to invest in these things because they're the countries with money. So it's all over. I think some of the big names out there right now, for example, Elon Musk. I don't know if you know this. He created Tesla. He's also doing all the sky travel stuff and space travel. He's a South African, actually. His mother's South African, and he was schooled in South Africa until the age of 15, when he then moved to the States, and he finished his high school career there and went to the Ivy League universities. So we are quite proud of that. There's a few, Mark Shuttleworth, etc. Mark Shuttleworth creates the SSL certificate. He's South African. So in many ways, we do have people bringing innovation into the country, but we also have a lot of people, and same with India, who create ideas and sell those ideas to people who have the money and the investors to make it happen. But in terms of startups, I think India is right up there. And I think you come with an amazing education system into the workspace already, which puts you at an advantage. Now, in terms of curriculum and schooling, at this stage, for example, South Africa has just launched our first coding and robotics curriculum, and it's called that, for our government schools. We've got 2 school strands in South Africa. We've got the government, the Department of Education, which gives schooling to everybody. And in rural areas, it's free schooling. And then we have what we call IEB, our Independent Education Board. Those are private schools, and it's quite expensive schools with different resources, etc., where your 1% of the country's population goes to who can afford that. Now, in our government schools, for the first time, we're seeing a real influx of the use of technology, investment in training teachers to use technology with this curriculum coming about. This curriculum, it has been drafted this year, so people can test it out and use it. And from next year, for the first time, it will be taught from grade 0 up until grade 9. And then at the end of grade 9 in South Africa, you choose your 7 subjects that you will write your grade 12 or matric which is your final year of study in school before you go to university. And so in grade 10, 11, and 12, you only have those 7 subjects. So when you get to grade 10, you can then choose to take information technology, which is programming, or you can choose to take computer application technology, which is computer literacy.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, and you, Ryan?
This is Rehan, an 8th grade student from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. I would like to ask a question, ma'am. Can I ask, ma'am?
Please do, go ahead, Ryan.
Do all public schools in South Africa teach coding and robotics?
Not yet, but we are on our way of enforcing it. Unfortunately, you know, South Africa is a third world country, and we have huge struggles with electricity and with funding. So we do have a lot of what we call rural schools in areas where there's not even, sorry, just give me a second, okay. Widgets is playing. Sorry. So we have a lot of rural schools where the school buildings are literally under a tree where they, give me a second. Gizmo,
Okay.
Widget. Now you can meet, this is Gizmo. Hello, okay. Say hi, Gizmo. And over here is Widget, and they're very naughty. It's their playtime. You can see they've got flat noses. They're Boston Terriers. Sorry, they're just naughty. They've got a new toy that they're fighting about. Okay, they're running out now. Perfect. All right. So in terms of that, in rural schools where there's no buildings, there's no running water, you know, there is no technology. So how do you teach technology without the tools? And that's our real struggle right now. So there's a lot of organizations and things that are trying to fix it. But unfortunately, as much as we try and as much as the rule is, yes, we should be teaching it from next year onwards in every school, I think there's very real challenges in getting the right resources to the schools that need it the most. But there's a lot of people out there, me including, trying to give back information and share our knowledge and understanding and come up with creative ways and free products to get it out there. But unfortunately, a town or a little village that doesn't have electricity won't have internet and fiber to get access to all these things. So it's unfortunately not yet, but the dream is we're working hard to get it done.
What project do your students do regarding coding and robotics?
Projects.
Oh, sure. So many. Okay, so right now my students are doing a phenomenal project. We're using Z.P.H.S. I've got photos that I can share with you again. Share content, photos. Let's get that right photo over there for you guys. I have to find the right one. You can see that I love my students a lot. I've got too many photos. Okay, I am going to show you these photos. I'm going to show you a few things quickly. Let's see if it's showing up on your side. So we do a lot of coding. This is a project. I don't know if you can see over here. That's a Sphero Bolt robot. Thank you. I get the thumbs up from Hare Krishna. So what my students are working on here is they need to code the Sphero. This is a paper in the background of South African map. You can see over there, that's Gauteng, that's where I am based. They need to code their robot to run through each of the 9 provinces. And this is a grade 5 project, so 11 years old, 10, 11 years old. And they had to show me that they can also do research. So what they're doing over here is they need to code it to run from the Western Cape all the way through Limpopo and Mpumalanga. And in each province, they need to have the Sphero announce which province it is, what the capital of that province is, and an interesting fact about that province. So what we've done is I've worked with our social sciences, social sciences teacher. So social sciences of Africa is a combination of history and geography. And then we're using coding for them to tell the story of what they need to do. Okay. All right, let's take the pen tool away. Now, the next photo, here you can see, oh, let me just erase that pen mark that I made on the screen there. There we go. It's got, okay. All right. So here you can see that they've got a brace map where they've listed all the provinces, and they've started making notes of what they want to say. And they are now using block-based coding in the Sphero Edu app to control the robot and move it around. Now, one of my favorite tools is Lego robotics. So over here, you can see there's a Lego spike. This is a photo that was taken at the World Robotic Olympiad on Saturday, the 22nd of July this year. These three, this is Ella, Olivia, and Hannah, three of my students. They call themselves Team 13, and they competed in the robotics league. I've got a few more photos here. There you can see Isabella, Charlotte, and oh, let me see that face, Charlotte and Charlie. They were competing again. So what we do here is every year the World Economic Forum, the WRO gives a math and a specific problem for different ages. The students then have to work in teams of three to build and engineer a Lego robot that can solve certain problems. For example, here they had to push the whale into the corner over here. They had to, this is called coral there in the background, put that into where, or into the block where the whale is. So there's different challenges every year. And I love to teach things using robotics and coding where the robot actually does things with the code. So you can see what the block-based coding is doing. And I think these are two of my favorite projects so far this year that I've just shown you. Let me stop sharing. Love, did I answer your question? Did I give you some insights?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Madhi.
How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I am so glad to take this question. Question: age group students in your country learn coding and robotics?
So in our country, not everybody learns it just yet, but in my school and in many schools that I interact with, we start teaching it as young as grade 0. So that's our entry level. When you are 5 years old and you start school right through until the end of grade 9 when you are 15, before you enter what we call further education training.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My name is Soumyasri, an 8th grade student from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. I am so proud to ask you a question. Can I ask, ma'am?
Please do.
Would you mind sharing us about free online courses or resources to better ourselves in IT skills?
Absolutely. So I think if you go look at the chat that I've posted earlier, those resources are there. And I am quickly going to pull up another resource. Unfortunately, this one is not free, but I'm going to teach you a little trick. I don't know. Let me just go back to the chat over here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Udemy. Udemy is an online course platform. It's got lots of little short courses on it. Let's just say that. And go back to udemy.com, and I just want to quickly share my screen with you and show you some tips and tricks. Widgets and Gizmo, you are so naughty, my boys. Content. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you. I hope it's going to start broadcasting in a second. Okay, so let's just head over here. So in Udemy, this is an online course catalog, and you can learn anything about anything. Now, these things are in Rand. The Rand is not so strong, so it does look expensive, but some of these courses are absolutely amazing. So automation with Python programming, if you want to start doing that, you can type in anything here. It teaches you can learn different languages, etc. But what I tend to do is when I'm logged in is I will look like for prompting AI. Oh, sorry, misspelling that. Amazing what you can do with technology if you can't spell. There we go. Now it's going to bring up lots of different courses that I will like. If I like a course, what I tend to do is I add it to my wish list. Now, companies like Udemy, and I'm going to just stop sharing. Companies like Udemy, they do ask for money for their courses. However, every now and again, they've got a $1 sale day. And then all the things in my wish list I can get for really, really cheap. Or sometimes they say today is a free day and all these courses are free. If you do have these courses lined up in your wish list for one day, you will get an email saying that you can get it on sale or for free. So definitely look out for that. I would add that to the list of resources out there. But I think step one is to start with typing.com, and then Codecademy is going to teach you a lot for what you need to know. In terms of robotics, I'm just quickly going to copy a few lists as well of online websites that I think will give you a lot of insights as well. In terms of robotic resources, I've added for you the Lego, and there's a lovely website that's also free for Lego and education to teach you engineering skills like the direction of gears, how to create moving arms and wheels. It explains propulsion, how to build good axles. So if anybody's interested in building things. And then one of the things that I really, really enjoy using is microbits. So that's a microcontroller. Let me just start sharing my screen with you again before I go into the website. Share content, screen, start broadcasting. Okay, there we go. So I just want to jump quickly to here. So I've got, oh, not Zoom. I want to open up microbits. Okay, so this BBC microbit, you can see over here on the screen, it is a microcontroller. And it might look small, but this mighty little machine can do so much. You can code it to be a step counter. You can do so much with it. And you can work through the website. There's lots of resources, videos, etc. You can make code for free. You can then go to Python and you can link out to Scratch if you want to do more. This is a phenomenal little tool and very inexpensive, but you can do so much of it. You can code it from a tablet. You can code it from a computer, anything that you need to, and work on it. And once you've done everything that you could with the microbits, you can move on to a Raspberry Pi, which is just an extension and something that's a lot more meaty and can add more functionality. Shumeshri, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I think, are there any more questions, students?
Sir, can I? Hello ma'am, this is Nandini and I'm Greta from Z.P.H.S School Ilavaram. Here my question is, what are the 21st century skills? Do you think that these skills are essential to survive in this competitive world?
Sorry, Nandini, I lost you there a little bit. Can you just repeat your question for me again, love?
What are the 21st century skills? Do you think that these skills are essential to survive in this competitive world?
Okay, I think what it comes down to for me is being curious and being able to ask the right question on the right platform. If you can ask Google something and you know how to ask that question, you will find the information. If you are good at doing research, I think this is super important because remember now, anyone who's one can write something. Sit mooi. Anyone who can do anything can publish things on the internet. So we also need to learn to validate information. Just because I read that a celebrity passed away on Facebook doesn't mean it's true. I need to be curious enough to go and investigate and find out. So ask questions, delve around. Don't just take the first resource you find. Find multiple resources saying the same thing. Learn as much as you can, watch videos, read, go to books, go to the internet, find newspapers, speak to experts, reach out to people. I mean, your teacher is setting the best example, and I think I said that last time as well. Find experts out there and reach out. You would be surprised how many people is willing to share what they know. And Elon Musk might not be the right person, but maybe his assistant's willing to speak to you. But honestly, is it so bad to get the answer? No. If you do not ask, you will never know what the answer will be. And I think that's it. Ask the questions and know where to ask it.
Thank you so much, Janet, for your time. And we thoroughly enjoyed this session. I was really disappointed last time, but Today, I'm so happy. I'm on cloud 9 today, just like India. So before we wind up this session, could you please give a final message to my students?
Sure. Oh, pressure. Yeah. Be curious. You know what? Have fun in learning, because there's a lot that you can learn. And don't ever think that when you hit a brick wall, or when you get a no, that's the end of your road. It might just mean that you need to take a right or a left turn, or think a bit differently about the solution. Speak to people, collaborate, because no good idea was ever one person's idea. A good idea is a combination of a multitude of ideas and people brainstorming and looking at information, looking at things differently. You know, sometimes stand on your head and look at the world upside down. You're going to look at things differently. Lie on the floor and look up. You know, stand at the top and look down. Just be curious and try and experience the world differently, and never, never be too scared to ask. It's okay if the answer is no. But I grew up in a house where I wouldn't get pocket money unless I went to my mom and dad every month and I said, Mom, Dad, it is pocket money time. Please, may I have it? And that has taught me to ask. And it's okay if they said, not this month. I respect that. But I needed to ask, and that has taught me to be curious, to be courageous, just go out there. And honestly, there's so much out there. Technology doesn't mean you have to be a programmer. Like I said, you can be a social media marketing manager. You can be a prompt master. Go look into Agile. Agile is a type of management system for programmers. Within that, there's various jobs. And only one of those jobs is a programmer and developer who does the actual code. There's a team of 8 people around that developer who keeps the processes going. But everybody understands what technology can do. And just because I understand today what technology does, doesn't mean tomorrow I will. That happened with all of us in November last year when ChatGPT was launched. Things change all the time, and we live in an extremely exciting time of life. So just keep learning, keep your minds open, use Google, use ChatGPT, and just apply yourself as much as you can, and use situations like this. Reach out to people, speak to people, and don't underestimate the power of what technology can allow you to do. I know we all love Superman and Wonder Woman and Spider-Man, and we want to be like them and have these superpowers.